Committee of Adjustment meeting for January 28th, 2026. The land on which we gather today is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, the Attawandaronk, and Mississauga people, many of whom continue to live and work here today. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties and is within the land protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, this gathering place is home to many Indigenous peoples, many made up of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis. The Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement should remind us of our responsibility to ensure the Dish, the territories in which we live and work, is never empty, and that we take care of the land and its inhabitants in a way that ensures its future sustainability. So welcome again to this hearing. The Committee of Adjustment for the City of St. Catharines. Everyone present will be given an opportunity to comment on the applications being heard. Please note that the Committee of Adjustment hearing is being recorded. There are, so you can, if you come up, you can always go see how you did on YouTube later on. I don't do that, but there are two major types of applications to this committee. Applications for consent and severance and applications for minor variances to municipal zoning bylaw requirements. Evidence may be required to be given under oath if deemed necessary. Please address all your comments and questions through the chair. Additionally, please maintain respect while communicating with the committee staff and other members, other meeting participants to ensure smooth and orderly discussion. Copies of all decisions will be mailed to the applicant and any other person who appeared before the committee or filed a written request to receive a notice of decision. Pursuant to the More Homes Built Faster Act and in the matter of consent applications, the applicant, the minister, or a specified person or public body that has an interest in the matter has the right to appeal either the decision itself or the conditions of the consent to the Ontario Land Tribunal within 20 days of the mailing of the decision. Minor variance decisions may also be appealed. However, they must be made within 20 days of the making of the decision tonight. And the cost of an appeal is still $400. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
There are none.
Is there a member of the committee who would like to approve this evening's agenda, please? David, thank you. Motion to adopt the minutes of the previous meeting. Thank you, Tom. Declaration, does any member of the panel have a conflict of interest in any of the applications being considered at this hearing or the previous hearing if they were not in attendance? I do not. No, 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 and no. Requests for withdrawal or adjournment?
There are no requests for withdrawal or adjournment.
Okay, that pretty much puts us right into our agenda of applications. So we're going to be starting with, the introduction? You will meet the various participants as we go through the meeting. But I could say that the members of the Committee of Adjustment are all volunteer citizens who participate in this process, and city planning staff are around us here for support, and throughout the meeting you'll be hearing from various people to supplement the conversation. Next would be to call down the applicant and or agent who's here to discuss 17 Considine Avenue, or some variation of that pronunciation. You have a handout, and you're welcome to approach the hostile committee over there cautiously and thrust paper in front of them. And yes, when you do get settled, you'll be sitting over here.
Is this where I'll be speaking?
That's where you'll be sitting.
Thank you. I did bring some additional copies for
Rosa looks like she's ready to.
staff or whoever may need them,
Okay.
so that everybody could.
Here? Yep. And then when you're not speaking.
So as this is being handed out, we can talk about the fact that this is a, thank you, this is a minor variance application to recognize an existing platform structure, or commonly known as a deck, within the front yard. There are a number of minor variances, 3 minor variances associated with this application, including such favorite minor variances as minimum front yard setback to a platform structure, minimum required dimensions for a standard parking space obstructed on 2 sides, and the third one is a maximum lot coverage minor variance. The applicant would have been given a report from staff outlining their review, which we as a committee read as part of our consideration. And that report recommended denial of the 3 minor variances. And so now we'll ask the applicant to state their name and address and respond to the staff report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. My name is Noel Buckley. I live at 15 Considine Avenue, next door neighbor to 17 Considine Avenue, which is owned by my son and his partner. I was at this committee in September of 2023 when we asked to, if you look at the very first page of the handout, the site plan, when we, at that particular time, Part 2 existed and Part 1 was severed. At that time, we had a approval for this site plan from this committee, and as such, we built Part number 1 in complete accordance with the site plan and the drawings that were presented, and Part number 2 is before you. So Part number 2 did have a raised platform that was not only where you see on the particular, on this drawing and the site plan, but it also at that point went further across the house and covered where the parking spot was. The parking spot prior to the severance was on the other side of the house between what is Lot 21 and Lot 22, Part 2 and Part 1 of the site plan. So what we did is, in accordance with the site plan, we built exactly as proposed the 2-story resident at Part 1. Part 2, we removed, as was requested, the raised platform. That was where the existing automobile is now on the site plan, the driveway. And we built a driveway exactly according to this plan. This plan provides for I believe it's 5.2 meter distance from the house to the road. The planning professionals at the city are suggesting that doesn't meet the requirement, but that is from the house, which is not movable, to the roadway, which is not movable. So we have built it as cited in this plan. The other thing on the parking is we had built, or were expected to build a 3.5 meter parking space. I had submitted a drawing that showed a 3.15 meter parking space, but I would like to bring your attention to the only color photo in the package. And the photo in the package is the new driveway after it was laid, the color photo. It's about the 5th page in your package. This is the house and the raised platform in question. As you can see, when the driveway was measured, the concrete pour was 3.15, but the distance to the property line is the exact 3.50 that was approved on the site plan. So I don't know if we have to pour concrete down that last point, last 15 centimeters or 20 centimeters, but it is included as part of the driveway. It's just not part of the concrete that was laid. So the actual driveway that was put in place is the exact size that was approved at this committee in September 2023. As for the raised platform, on this site plan that was approved, it is a raised platform of slightly over 13 square meters. The platform that remains is slightly under 13 square meters. The problem, which we acknowledge, comes from the fact that this is asking for a 0.15 meter height, and we have a 0.51 meter height. We are asking that this be allowed to remain at 0.51 meters because as you go through the planning document that was provided for this committee, one of the suggestions as to why it shouldn't be done is that it does not maximize the compatibility with the surrounding area, and we would submit that it does. I've provided photos of houses all within, I want to say, I might be under oath, so I won't say 25 meters, but all within 30 meters, certainly all right in near proximity to where we are, that illustrate it is quite common in this area, which is a small, historically cottage area, where most of the houses on the, let me get it right, north, south, most of the houses on the west side of Constantine are built at their back door right to the property line. So the area to be at is at the front of the property. And if you were to look at the photos we provided, I just took, and you can see that they are unfortunately snow-related, but the first one shows a property on the street which is built right to the curb. The second one shows a similar thing. You could actually see the telephone pole, which has a very similar deck. If you look at that particular photo, the house next door belongs to the gentleman at the back who may speak in a minute if you ask for people to support. And the house beside that is where one we're speaking of. And if you go down to the next one, you can see two more photos of neighborhood decks that are built right to the curb that are well beyond 0.15 meters. So I am suggesting that it is compatible with the neighborhood and is very much in line with what people are doing in the neighborhood to take advantage of outdoor space. I've addressed the driveway. I will address the neighbors. On our particular street, the east-west street that joins Considine is called Peel. So where Peel joins Considine, from Considine down, which is the area we're talking about, there are 8 homes. If you take a look at the very last page of the document I provided you, 100% of the people living in that dead-end area have signed in support of the applicant. There's not one single one opposing. There are 7 signatures. One of the houses is vacant at this point, so I was unable to collect a signature, but I will tell you, the vacant house is one of the ones where I showed the photo, which they built directly to the telephone pole. So it's compatible with the neighborhood. 100% of the neighborhoods are in support. The driveway is built absolutely to the specifications that were provided and approved by this committee in September 2023. And to that end, I would suggest that this committee consider and look at the request favorably and allow the platform to remain where it is. Thank you very, very much. I do have the neighbor who is directly beside the house who would be willing to speak to this issue if you want.
Thank you. If you could just turn your mic off and turn it on as necessary. Are there any, so we're going to ask the members of the committee if they have any questions or clarifications of you and your presentation and or the documents they have in front of them. So one comment, oh, go ahead. David? Go ahead. Well, one comment I was going to make about precedent is that because the planning and zoning bylaw and official plan is an evolving document, it recognizes the fact that there are historically rooted buildings that were built before various new iterations of those documents, and it's only when new work, building permits, changes to those historic properties are contemplated that they can apply the rigor of the new planning and zoning. So that's why this is happening. So there's some context. No one's necessarily just picking on you. It's part of the bylaw process.
I don't feel picked on. All right, good. Mr. Chair, thank you.
We are here to serve, so thank you. Sorry, David.
Through you to planning, the applicant has made reference to the fact that the concrete plus what looks like a dirt area would comply with the 3.5 meters, would it be required to be concrete in order to comply?
So one can assume that obviously the width of the driveway is presumably is intended to be fully a surface that would accommodate a car, and the fact that in this case the concrete stops short of that width. The question is, and the applicant alluded to it, if they were to extend the parking surface to the full width, minimum width required, would that comply with the city's expectations?
So through you, Mr. Chair, to the committee member, for commercial and industrial properties, we do have a requirement where they have to be paved surfaces for parking. I don't believe we're quite so rigid with residential. However, our bylaw does say if the space is to be used for parking, to accommodate parking, it can't count towards landscape space. And if you see on the plan right now, they have it labeled as soft landscape space, which means that they would need to request different variances from what have been identified in the application if that were to count towards a parking space as opposed to landscape space.
So the material on the land is defined differently. Soft landscaping is obviously not parking, and there's a lot coverage issue, I guess. Kerry, you brewing a question, comment?
Yes. In terms of the history of our experience on this committee, we've had, at one point in time, the city insisted that the maximum lot coverage or any pre-existing minor variances had to be included with a current application. Is that the case? And then it vacillated from there to not being a requirement in terms of there could be variances that still existed post-application. I hope I'm being clear. Number 3 talks to the maximum lot coverage. And was that something that was impacted by what they did? Is that the reason why that's included? I can tell by your reaction that you're crystal clear on what it is.
Through the chair to the committee members, so the lot coverage provision there is 40%. So the one that was approved in 2023, that was for 45%, but we always revert back to the original special provision, which is 40%. So the applicant here is requesting 40 to 57.3%. Hope that clears it up.
So I've got a few comments, questions. Could you walk us through how we got here? Was this a complaint? And I think one of the reasons I'm asking this question is for our edification, but also it might be important for people to understand how these files come to be. And what I mean by that is the city proactively looking to enforce, or are these complaint-based files?
Yeah, so through the chair to the committee member, the city did receive a complaint. That's about as much detail as I can go into for that, which triggered a review for zoning, which identified that fortunately the deck was never brought to what was originally approved in the severance in 2023. So as a result, in 2023, the severance had a smaller deck at a smaller height that complied with zoning. The property complied completely with the variances that they received approval for. Between this approval, they've removed some of the deck, as you saw, but unfortunately not as much as was indicated on this plan, and the height was not lowered either. So right now it's a 0.51 meter high deck. On the plan, it shows it's 0.15 meters, so swap the two numbers around, which I recognize is maybe not significant height-wise, but it does have a lot of zoning implications because at that height, it's considered part of landscaping because it's low to the ground. Whereas if you start raising it higher, it gets higher, less permeable. It counts towards lot coverage, things of that nature.
I just want to be clear in my understanding. In 2023, were they offside on that deck or no?
Through the chair to the committee member,
Because I thought I just heard you say that they were required to change that, not only in the size, we've already determined that the size was taken care of because the parking spot is there now, but in terms of the elevation, was that something that they were to modify in order to conform?
yes, you can see on the plan here, it says the proposed open deck less than 0.15 meters in height on the screen. I'm looking at my screen in front of me, the screen up here. The highlighted yellow deck says it's less than 0.15 meters in height. It was going to go to that. Down. But the deck that's there currently, that was there before this application, was 0.51 meters in height, which is the taller deck we saw on the pictures that, that the applicant provided to us. That's my understanding. I'm not sure if the applicant
Yeah,
has something further.
This is by no means meant to contradict planning, so I'm under oath. The deck was built before the severance, before 2023, shortly after my son purchased the property. Okay, so the deck was built almost immediately and was large and was non-compliant. We found out it was non-compliant. My son was under the impression it would be compliant if it was under 20 inches or whatever the amount is where you didn't need to get height permits or whatever. There was a complaint filed by the neighbor next door. I shouldn't know that. There was a complaint filed that was triggered a bylaw inspection. The complainant, the bylaw inspector came and said that the deck is too high or too close to the road. We were always confused on what it was. And we said we were in the process of severing. We will deal with resizing the deck once we get the whole site plan approved. When the site plan was approved, I saw you flip a photo up there that had us, that showed the deck after it had been removed on one side, and I don't know where that photo went. I don't have it with me. But it was, you can see the construction where we tore out the deck. But the deck was built before the severance. A bylaw inspector inspected before the severance, before any of that took place. And it was based upon a complaint. The complainant, hearsay. That's what it was. That entire deck where the white chairs are is what's removed and where the driveway was placed. That was in place long before the other house was built or the severance was done. Not long before, shortly after the house was purchased.
Part of the September 2023 process.
It was there.
Was for you to agree to that it's going to be lowered. And
That's right. And we did. We actually removed it because part of the process was to create a driveway where that deck is. The confusion for us was whether the remaining part had to be lowered or not. That was the confusing part. You see the house on the right-hand side? This would be the house that the gentleman in the audience lives in. And he bought it from somebody who complained and since moved to Scotland. So, but it was a complaint, to answer your question, that brought the inspector at the beginning.
But the drawing that you brought to that hearing on September 2023 clearly has that remaining portion deck highlighted here, which was highlighted in yellow, even clearer on the screen, which says that that deck is to be lowered to meet the zoning bylaw. So I think, would you agree that just has not been done? I
would agree it has not been done.
Okay.
I would agree there was confusion on our part because at one point it said the deck on the right-hand side leading to the door, and I don't have the drawing in front of me, I wasn't able to find it again, said could be, I can't remember what it was, 1.3 meters or whatever it was to get to deck height. We looked at that. We thought 1.3 meters applied. I acknowledge that it doesn't, and I'm not foolish, so I'm not trying to sell you something that's wrong. I'm simply now saying we would like to maintain the height of the deck. It's in line with all the other front decks on the street.
Yeah, it's just be part of the, we went through this process then. I'm not sure who was here, but I mean, I don't remember all these things, but there was an agreement to this criteria which was not met, and then 2 years later, 3 years later, you're still fighting for what you want versus what was agreed to then, which is which was how I'm trying to evaluate this. Was it just, ignored that we're not going to do this and hope we can get away with it, but then someone catches you and here you are again?
Yeah, I don't think it was ignored. I think in good faith, we took the tech down. We had a misunderstanding of what was to be left. I acknowledge our error and our mistake.
This deck here is not the exact same deck was in that photo, just the other deck's removed?
It's half the size of it.
But not the height. The height's still the same.
The height is the same.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
Well,
but the
we'll-
deck is half the size, yes.
We'll continue with questions over here. We'll invite anybody in the gallery who wishes to speak. And so, David?
To add some clarity, I wondered about this and had a little time on my hands, so I went back to the YouTube of September 13th, 2023. Stephen Bedford was the representative for the file and made a presentation at which he stated that the entire deck would be removed and replaced with that grade.
Carrie?
So just, again, to be clear, the gable that you see on the left-hand side, the deck was to be in line with that 90-degree right corner of the deck, of the house, correct? So in other words, it's higher, and it's also larger than what is on the drawing for the 2023 application, correct?
If you look on the drawing, it is not larger, it's smaller, because although it lines up with the gable, the deck at 3.4 meters extends into the side yard. As illustrated on the next drawing, which is the requested drawing, we have taken the deck off of the side yard, and it only goes to the side of the house. I'm sorry, if you show the original, show the drawing that I submitted with this application.
We do not have,
Yeah, you had it up there a minute ago. It was the front page. It was, a lot of handwriting was on it.
Yeah, so,
You'll be able to see where the deck was.
our IT team is on it.
There it is.
Just bear with
So
us.
the
So there we
deck
are.
has shrunk to, the portion that was in the side yard is gone,
Yeah.
and it's now on the other side of the gable, but the deck is not larger.
right on.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions from the members of the committee? Tom?
Just relating to the lot coverage.
We got a live mic over there, Leask.
Thank you.
So if the deck is indeed the same size as it's shown in the drawing and it was kind of just shifted over in front of the gable, where's the extra 12% lot coverage coming from to the 45 that was approved in 2023 versus the 57 that the variance is requested for?
We'll ask our friendly staff planners if they could answer.
Through the chair to the committee members. So the main issue here is the height. So anything over 0.15 meters is a structure, which contributes to lot coverage. So now that the actual deck is not 0.15 above grade, it's 0.51, which contributes to a lot coverage. So which is why it's 57.3%.
Just relating also, sorry, through the chair to staff, relating to the comment in the staff comments, does the existing stairs encroach into the road allowance?
Through the chair to the community member, it's my understanding from the applicant that there is no stairs.
The stairs will be removed, sir. They haven't been yet, but they are to be removed, and that was what we had suggested in our application. And I think that's in the application somewhere. I don't have the whole paperwork in front of me.
So this is actually high enough. Is that your mailbox that's on there? Yes. All right. Okay. Yeah, okay. Okay, we're going to assume that the members of the committee are satisfied with the presentation and their understanding. We're going to ask anybody in the gallery who wishes to speak to come down. You'll have to come through those gates, sit at the head of the horseshoe, take a seat, get comfortable, turn on your microphone, tell us who you are, where you live, and contribute to this conversation. Well, applicant, you stay where you are. Speaker, you go up there where the white piece of paper says. We could play musical chairs there if we had some music, but
Sorry.
I would sing, but you don't want that. The bottom right.
That one.
Nice.
Perfect.
Very few people can get it in the first try.
Good evening, everybody. Mr. Chairman, my name's Dwight Beaton. I am the owner of the property, as Noel alluded to, at 19 Considine Avenue. I would just like to actually enter in that, in fact, what Noel said is correct, in that the house, the deck as it is, fits in extremely well with the rest of the neighborhood. There are, in fact, decks that are higher and closer to the street, if you will, than that particular one. And also, by having that deck there with the proximity to my house and the fact that I have some vegetation, some shrubs, to have that deck removed and lowered to the 0.15, as you say, means that living beside Lake Ontario, these folks can't have a view of the lake. So I think that was part of what they did to raise the deck so that they could, in fact, see over where my deck is and have a view of the lake.
Okay, fair enough. Thanks so much. You're welcome to stay there, or you can return back to the gallery. We will, again, so anybody else who wishes to speak this application? Okay, thank you. Any final questions or clarifications from the members of the committee? Okay, we're going to go into our decision deliberation mode here. So right now, we have some history and some understanding of why things are the way they are now. We have staff recommendation for denial of all three variances. Is there anyone who is prepared to put forth a motion? David?
Following consideration of all written and oral presentation, I move that variance application A8324 is presented in the notice of hearing be denied, as the variances are not minor in nature nor appropriate or desirable for the use of the land, nor in keeping with the general intent and purpose of the official plan and zoning bylaw.
Okay, so the motion is in support of staff's recommendation for denial. So voting in favor of it is voting for denial. Voting against it is in favor of the applicant. So all those in favor of the motion, those opposed, 3-2. So your application has been denied in support of staff's application, recommendation.
As a point of clarification, sir, what are we supposed to do about the poor driveway that we poured in response to the site plan? I don't know what to do if the driveway has been denied.
So I'll take a stab at it and you can fill me in. So of the three minor variances outline the three zoning bylaw infractions that you do not currently meet. So there is a required depth from the front yard for a meter above, for a flat platform structure above 0.6 meters. So if you lower the platform structure, it can be closer to the property line, but not at its current height. Parking lot dimensions, we just heard that they determined that the parking lot is defined by a surface upon which a car can park, not the soft landscaping. So it would mean meeting the minimum dimensions with the concrete of the parking. Okay, and then I'll be corrected in a second. And then the minimum lot coverage, that's confusing to me as well. So staff?
Thank you. Through the chair to the applicant, with the severance that received approval in 2023, if the deck goes back to that, that would be, that was approved under the regulations in place at the time. So the parking spot would meet those regulations at that time. Because since you've come in, we have had a housekeeping that's increased our parking space sizes. So because it's a new application under new regulations, we applied the new parking space requirements. But if we're going back to 2023, then it would be the old dimensions.
So yeah, if you comply with what you were agreed to or asked to comply with in 2023, then those are the those are what you're meeting, whereas I guess these minor variances were measured against current zoning bylaws.
And one for the bylaw officer and inspection is because I guess we've been here or been, is very diligent in their work. And
Wants to call off the dogs?
Pardon me?
He wants to call off the dogs?
Well, I certainly don't want to try to get out there in the middle of winter and solve this problem, to be quite frank. I mean, yeah, I'm up, you can see, Considine is a very small cottage street. There's no place to put snow anywhere, and there's nowhere to do construction now.
I think it's well understood that we would be doing this in the middle of the winter. But is there anything else the staff would like to
Through the
add?
chair to the applicant, our bylaw staff is, pretty flexible. They understand that there's certain conditions that you can't work under. If you'd like, we can have a conversation after this to figure out.
It'd be
what to
important
do,
because it's been brought to the attention of legal, and the legal is involved. And I certainly am not interested in being on the wrong side of the law, but I'm not interested in, frankly, going out there next week and trying to deal with this.
Yeah.
Okay, I think there's an accommodation there. Great, thanks so much. Appreciate both your involvement. Now we're going to go to the second item on our agenda, which is 128 Page Street. There's a consent and 2 minor variance applications. So we're subdividing lots, and there'll be associated minor variances. And there we go. So if that applicant, please come down. So for the consent application, the staff report recommends approval subject to 4 conditions, and with respect to if approved, with respect to the minor variances, staff is also recommending approval. These properties were once 2 separate lots, and then probably through some tragedy, they merged through the same name coming on title or whatever, became 1 lot, and now you're undoing that invisible procedure. Is that correct-ish?
Bingo.
All right, good. I'm rarely ever right, but thank you. Name, business address, and please share with us your knowledge.
Hi, my name is Brent LaRock. I'm at 12 Lyman Street. You hit it on the nose. Properties were purchased in the 50s, and they didn't receive good legal advice of the day, and they've merged. So now they're unmerging them.
So just for those out there who may not know, so if 2 adjacent properties are owned by the same individual on title, so if someone owned one and another person owned another in a family, and the owner was to die and will it to the neighboring adjacent person on the same title, I believe that's when they merge. That can be, it's a very invisible kind of technical thing, but it's on the books as what happens, and I guess that has been discovered. So now they're spending a bit of money and time to put it back the way it was. So any questions from members of the committee to the applicant? Anybody in the gallery who wishes to speak to that application, having that wonderful definition of what's going on here? No? Great. I'd like to invite a committee member for a motion, please.
Following consideration of all written and oral presentation, I move that consent application B0226 SC as presented, the notice of hearing be approved subject to the conditions outlined in the technical report, as the consent is desirable and compatible with the surrounding area, has no adverse impacts on the surrounding properties, As regard to the provisions of Section 5124 of the Planning Act, conforms with the policies of the city's official plan, and with conditions fulfilled will also comply with the zoning bylaw, maintains the intent and purpose of the provincial planning statement, and does not conflict with any applicable provincial plans.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion? Great, so your application's been approved unanimously. Yes, everyone voted, yeah, yeah.
Did you do the minor variances?
Oh, yeah, right, sorry, didn't mean. So minor variant, I thought normally we package them all together, but maybe that was left off. If we could add that
So
back on.
I read
please.
the right statements, I just didn't include the variance, so I'll amend that to include variances A0226 and A0326.
For all the reasons, okay. All those in favor of that amended, okay, great, thank you, bye. 275 Geneva Street, come on down. At 275 Geneva Street, we have a severance application. Well, actually, no, it's a long-term lease, greater than 21 years. That happens quite often with our shopping plazas and so on. Staff has reviewed the application. They're recommending approval of the extension of the long-term lease. And there are 3 conditions associated with that. And the applicant and/or agent will now turn on their microphone, tell us their name and address, and contribute to this file, please.
Yep. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and committee member. My name is Matthew Chan. I'm a junior planner at the Lakeshore Group, and we are the consultant for the applicant, First Capital, the landlord, and Metro, the operator of the Food Basics on site. Metro is seeking approval of a lease with a term of 30 years, which commences on January 1st, 2021, and ends on December 31st, 2050 for the existing Food Basics building. As per the Planning Act, leases in excess of 21 years need consent from the committee, and no developments proposed as part of this application. We have also reviewed the staff report and are in full agreement, as well as the condition imposed. And yeah, I'm open to any questions.
Great, thanks so much. Carrie?
Through you to planning, I note on the recommendation, you use the words with the acknowledgement and direction for conveyance of the subject parcel, together with a copy of the deposited R plan, et cetera, et cetera. Why the word conveyance? Because the property's not being conveyed, per se.
Through the chair to the committee member, even though it's not being conveyed, it's a consent application. So it's just the terminology.
Thank you.
It's being conveyed in the rented sense.
Gotcha.
Okay, with that clarification, would someone like to put forth a motion? Hold on, no, my goodness, what? Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Is there anybody in the audience, in the gallery, which wishes to speak to the application where this grocery store can't, expand their parking lot? No? Okay, thanks. Carrie?
Following consideration of all written and oral presentations, I move that consent application B0126SC, as presented in the notice of hearing, be approved, subject to the 3 conditions as outlined in the technical report, as the consent is desirable and compatible with the surrounding area, has no adverse impact on the surrounding properties, has regard for the provisions of Section 5124 of the Planning Act, conforms with the policies of the city's official plan, and will also comply with the zoning bylaw, maintains the intent and purpose of the provincial planning statement, and does not conflict with any applicable provincial plans.
Thank you. All those in favor of that motion? Okay, your application's been approved. Thank you. Okay, we're moving right along to 7 Mildred Avenue. So the applicant and/or agent will come down. This is concerning variances to facilitate an accessory dwelling unit within the rear of the property. There are 4 minor variances related to zoning bylaw requirements to accommodate this particular proposal. Parking, lot coverage, landscape open space, total parking coverage, et cetera. And we have the applicant here to introduce themselves and contribute to the conversation. And by the way, I just wanted to point out that the staff report does recommend approval with a condition or a change in the wording. So hopefully you had time to read that report.
I am the applicant. My name is Chris Zudaway, and I reside at 7 Mildred Avenue.
So did you have an opportunity to read staff's wording to support the approval?
Yes, we have reviewed it.
Good, great, thank you. Distinguished members of the committee, anybody have any questions, comments, clarifications? Nope? Extinguished, perhaps. Is there anybody in the gallery this evening who wishes to speak to the application at 7 Mildred Avenue? Back to the committee for a motion.
Following consideration of all written and oral presentation, I move that variance application A0426 as presented in the notice of hearing be approved, identifying that it's solely for the establishment of one accessory dwelling unit on the property, as the variances are minor in nature, appropriate and desirable for the use of the land, and are in keeping with the general intent and purpose of the official plan and zoning bylaw.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion? Your application's been approved. Go forth and build. Thank you. And finally, we find ourselves at 292 Vine Street. At 292 Vine Street, we have two minor variances to permit the reductions in parking space within widths similar to the previously approved parking space with reduction granted to the minor variance application A2.2 for the purpose of private road development containing 83 townhouses. So 2 minor variances, all related to parking. We'll give you the opportunity to say who you are and explain further what you want. And staff has already recommended approval, so that's a good thing.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. My name is Dave Recchia. I'm an Ontario land surveyor with JD Barnes Limited out 4318 Portage Road in the Falls. Joining me is Dasha Page. She is also Ontario land surveyor with JD Barnes. And we're speaking on behalf of the applicant, Fernando Recchia of Bevco Homes. Fernando is currently in the middle of building the new Polish Legion at 292 Vine Street, as well as the 83-unit vacant land condo at 294 is the Polish Legion, and 292 is the vacant land condo. We've submitted this application in anticipation of the grace period ending this coming April, following the passing of the housekeeping amendment bylaw. We are asking for a continuation, or rather a reaffirming of the previously approved minor variance A12322, specifically the parking stall widths. Under the new requirements, the parking stall widths for spaces obstructed on 2 sides is 3.30. We're asking for 3.05 for 4 blocks and 3.0 for 1 block. I'll leave it there. Thanks.
All right, we'll leave it hanging right there. We'll ask our members of the committee if they have any, perhaps some of us were here for that original application, but any questions, clarifications? Nope. Anybody in the gallery wish to speak to this application? You're just hanging out. Great moral support. With that bit of business, would anyone like to put a motion before us? Anybody? Seasoned professional, newbies, whoever. Tom.
Following consideration of all written and oral presentations, I move that variance application A0526, as presented in the notice of hearing, be approved as the variances are minor in nature, appropriate and desirable for the use of the land, and are in keeping with the general intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw.
All those in favor of the motion? All right, your application's been approved. Thank you. So now we're on the new business portion of the agenda. New business, old business. We received circulation on some reminders on our powers of the Committee of Adjustment, our responsibilities to the community. Thank you for staff for preparing that. There was some information regarding fire department and ADUs, detached ADUs, and how they know that they're there and how they can get access to it. There should be a sign out front. I got an ADU in the back. It's pretty weird, but it's important for fire safety. Anything else?
So we are improving, we're going to be working on our procedural bylaw and trying to get that updated. It's long overdue. And so we'll probably get some feedback and once we get going. We're also going, application process is going more, it's going through the portal, going through the computer. So we're still in the learning curve and learning and preparing it. So once it becomes more ready for testing, we will circulate and see what it looks like. It's gonna look different in the emails and how we proceed, but we'll keep you posted.
All right, it's always nice to become more mechanized. Great, so the date of our next hearing is February 18th, 2026. Anybody not going to be here? Okay, great. See you all then. May we have a motion to adjourn the hearing? Thank you, David.